Welcome to the latest episode of The Chris White Show, a podcast dedicated to helping small to medium-sized business owners and anyone looking to make the entrepreneurial leap. A little about me, your host, Chris White. I'm an entrepreneur based in Brooklyn, New York. I currently own two companies, a boutique digital agency called Sneakers, and a staffing and recruiting firm, Rad Hires. Our featured guest this week is Casey Parker. Casey's had a truly amazing journey, so I'm really excited to have him on the show. He's also a dear friend and just a great dude. Casey's education was in music and musical theater at the University of the Arts in Philadelphia. Out of college, he was a touring actor for about 5 years when he decided to focus on music. To supplement his income, as many artists do, he tended bar for years, and this grew into booking music, hosting events, and in general, learning how to develop a scene. He then took that entrepreneurial leap by opening Jose Pistola's, a Mexican restaurant in Philadelphia. That was 17 years ago, and that expanded into the openings of Sancho Pistola's and Pistolas del Sur in Philadelphia. And he now also owns Troubles End Brewing, a brewery, restaurant, and live music venue in Collegeville, PA. You can find out more about Casey at troublesendbrewing.com and pistolaslife.com. Links will be in the show. Casey, so excited to have you on the show, brother. How are you, man?
I'm awesome, Chris. Thanks, man. Thrilled to be here.
Yeah, man. Like I was saying before the recording, I'm just so curious about the world of running restaurants, bars, breweries, you name it. I think our listeners are just going to get so many valuable nuggets out of this show, and
I hope so.
I just want to hear more about your journey, man, because it's such a cool, unique journey, and I think it speaks to the ability to anybody to become an entrepreneur. You know, like you don't know what that journey is going to look like, you know, and I feel like your journey was a little non-traditional, like out of school, but then like you just eventually turned it into this amazing mini business empire, right? Like it's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, so I really really excited to just dive into your whole journey. But as we do on the show, I like to start out by getting a favorite quote from all of my guests. What's your favorite success quote? Why is it your favorite, and how are you applying it to your everyday life?
Well, all right. I'm going to get crushed for this because I'm in Philly, but it has not. I was thinking about this way before it happened. Trust the process. And like, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the whole Joel Embiid Sixers thing, but before that, I like, and honestly, listening to your podcast, like I went through so many different quotes that I loved, but trust the process is something. When I was in school for theater, my acting coach, my sophomore year, drilled it into my head. Her name was Mary Elizabeth Bartlett, and it just made so much sense, and it's something that has always stuck with me. That when you're building a character, when you're building an arc, you have to trust the process. You set out to do one thing, and the worst thing you can do is crumble it up and throw it away 3/4 of the way through your process. Like, you have to trust that at the end of it, you're going to have this like complex, deep, emotional kind of connection, and it's going to work. And I mean, obviously not everything in the world works all the time, but it's kind of worked out for me. And once I really started being an artist, living by that, it kind of worked for me. And then the Sixers came along with their dumb trust the process thing, and I couldn't say it anymore. And the process didn't work. I don't know.
That's wow. Like you're blowing my mind, man. Like I was not expecting that. Like from like the days of like acting to like that's just so applicable to. I feel like I've been at that point. Like I've started some things and quit them like 3/4 of the way. And sometimes I look back and it's like, man, I should have just trusted the process more.
Could have worked.
It could have worked. It's like I got a little overwhelmed, like with all the negative things that could happen instead of re-emphasizing them myself, all the positive things that could happen if I just trusted the process,
Yeah. And it certainly crosses over into the restaurant world
Mm,
or into the booking world and everything. It's like, especially like the booking world, like
yeah.
we opened up 7 days before the first shutdown of the pandemic. Like, so I
Wow.
had this plan. Like, I had this plan of like, all right, we're gonna walk into this suburban neighborhood with a right hook, live music everywhere, boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom,
Yeah.
and then it's like, you got to shut down for a year and a half.
Oh my
It's like,
God,
what?
dude. Oh my God.
Yeah. But
Wow.
it definitely, that philosophy definitely has crossed over, and I have trusted it at times, and I've not trusted at times
Hmm.
to varying degrees of success. But
Yeah.
you
What's
know,
the what's the biggest failure you've had personally in your career, like, sort of in the restaurant scene, bar scene?
uh, I I think it's still coming.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and that's scary. But I mean, it's a tough one. Like, that's a tough question. I think my biggest failures, I think, right now have been more philosophical
Hmm.
or in growth or lack of growth. Or like, I think my biggest failure as an entrepreneur and as a boss, um, have been like, and even as an artist or as a human,
Hmm.
um, not listening
Okay.
early enough, not hearing. I notice like with my son sometimes right now, he's so excited about things,
Mm.
and he hears somebody, he's like gets excited about an idea and starts talking about it, and then the person he's talking to says, "Oh my God, that's really cool. There was this one time that I," and you can see on his face that he's actually just waiting for the person to finish speaking so he can get back on with his point,
Hmm.
as opposed to hearing what they're saying,
Hmm.
taking it in, and letting it affect what he says next. You
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
and again, that's like, uh, I think my biggest failures have been not listening to other smarter, more experienced people than myself, and not hearing them early enough.
Can you
You
give
know,
like, you have like an example, or like you even said being
um,
boss, like, I hadn't even thought of, it's like, you're not just an entrepreneur, when you have a business, like, there's, you know it's you as an entrepreneur, but then there's also you as a boss, and it's also, you make a lot of failures being a boss. A lot of people
yeah,
that work for somebody, they're like, oh, what's this idiot doing now, but they don't, I don't know, they don't realize it's hard being a boss. It's not really, nobody teaches you how to be a boss. So.
no, no, no. I think I'm hard on myself.
Mhm.
I I think probably like there are a bunch of them, but if we're going from like when I became a business owner and everything, I own three Mex. I'm a dude from Trenton and Philly.
Yeah.
It's like, and I own three Mexican restaurants with really good tequila and beer. So I think one of the biggest failures of it, my career, has been waiting so long to learn Spanish.
Okay.
Um,
Mm.
because I knew, because my entire kitchen, like they're
Yeah.
95% Spanish,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
and I like we recently, not I mean semi recently, about 2 years ago, we lost one of my business partners.
Hmm.
He just tragically died out of
Oh my
nowhere, and
God.
he was the guy that ran all of the kitchen, and he was an
Wow.
absolute freaking genius. Like,
Mm.
I mean, just he created this kind of like Mexican Asian fusion kind of dope original thing,
Wow.
and everybody just fell in line for him,
Mm.
and I had started the process before that of like learning, and actually like I listened to your first podcast, the
Mm.
first show,
Uh-huh.
and the woman that you was interviewing
Oh,
spoke about languages,
yeah, yeah,
and I
yeah,
was
that's
like,
right. Yeah.
I'm like, Wow, I could totally relate to this because I am currently on a 891-day streak of Duolingo. You
Dude,
know?
that's cool.
Yeah, it's great. I have 1,000-day party coming up in 99 days. But yeah, that's a real big one because these people aren't just my employees. They're like, at this point, they're my family. Like I spent
Yeah.
Thanksgiving with them, and
Mm,
like, you know,
mm,
I wish I would have done that earlier because once I figured out how to do it,
yeah.
um, it changed the game for me. Like the
Mm,
level of respect in their eyes for me.
yep.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, it was just a game changer. So
Man.
that's one example,
Yeah.
I
That's cool,
guess.
man. No, that's amazing, man. I kind of want to learn Italian, you know. It goes back to
I
some of
just
my
got back from Italy.
Oh man. Yeah,
It was
really.
so good.
Yeah, it's been on my I took French in high school, but I don't know. I've been itching to I think learn some Italian.
It's very similar to Spanish. When I was
Yeah.
over there we were with
Oh
two
yeah.
families, and like no one spoke any other language except me. So I was speaking this kind. We were calling it Spitalish, but like it really helped. Like I was
Yeah.
like talking. We had this like 86-year-old caretaker of the villa we were staying in, and he didn't speak a lick of English. But I sat down like every day and had like a half an hour, 45-minute conversation with this dude, and we got each other. It's like really, really cool. It's
Oh,
Italianish. They don't have it on Duolingo yet, but you'll get there.
what, what, so again, like I'm just amazed by like your journey. Like, you know, a lot of I've heard a lot of like people just who started out as bartenders. You know, there's something about being a bartender, you know, that like gets you to be good at like running certain things, sales, talking to people. But a lot of people don't take that and translate that into having like a mini, you know, restaurant empire, you know. So what was that like eureka moment for you where you said, like, I can do this, you know, like I want to open a restaurant? Like, what did that look like for you?
Yeah, it's funny. I thought about this a lot. I feel like I've kind of done something like this at every phase of my life, and like even back to like when I met you, I think I was like probably like 13,
Mm.
and I was a wannabe. I guess we called them posers back in the day, but like I wanted to be able to be a skateboarder. You know, it's like I can do that. You know, it's like I could never skate. I was so bad, but I kept trying. Um, but so I got burnt out as an actor, and
Okay.
like
It seems like it's a
that.
grind. Being an actor
Oh
seems
my
like
god. Oh my god. And it was also like that. We could go back to failures again because that was I. Learning Spanish is one thing, but like acting and singing is my favorite thing in the world to do
mm,
for life. Like it's
mhm,
never going to be surpassed.
mm,
And acting was a close second. And
mm,
I I kind of I was an awful businessman at that point. I
mm,
didn't even understand it. And like kind of like even when I went to college, like you know, we were in Greece together, remember? You know? But like when I went to college, it didn't even register in my brain that acting was an art form
mm,
until
yeah.
I was a freshman, and I'm like, oh, like I knew singing was
Mm,
because it was natural to me.
yep.
But so it similarly happens at points in my life. I've started to notice like when I got burned out on acting, I started as a dishwasher at this place called Fergie's Pub in Philly.
Wow.
It was like my college local,
Mm,
and then I went like cold side, and then I started hosting their open mic, and I just started writing more music. And just
huh.
like I was like, good, I just need to make money.
Yeah.
I need to make money, and like I just freaked out. Like at like
Yeah.
23 years old, I was in a show working 70 hours a week and bringing home 170 bucks. So I was
Wow.
like,
Wow.
I can't do this.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't. I'm
Yeah.
just freaking out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I did that, and Fergie's Pub is like it's still an icon. And
Hmm.
Fergie, my boss, is one of my dear friends. He's like the mayor of Philly,
Hmm.
and he just made it look easy.
Mm,
And I ended up booking all their bands. I ended up performing there a lot, and I ended up being their head bartender for like 8 years. And yes, there's a confidence
Mm.
that comes with having a bar in front of you. That became my
Hmm.
stage in a certain way.
Interesting.
Um,
Wow, that's cool. I
and
never thought about that. That's
oh,
cool.
definitely. Like
Yeah.
my it's like you could have bartender names, just like DJ names. My
Yeah.
bartender name was Dinner and a Show. It was great. It was really fun. Like I'm just back there, whatever's playing, I'm singing. I'm like, "What do you want, yo?"
Yeah.
It was a great time. I wish that owning a business was like tending bar,
Mm.
because it was just so natural and easy and fun.
Mm.
And but anyway, I'm sorry. I talk a lot.
All good,
Um,
man. All good.
I
What was that moment like, where you were just like, man, I could do what Fergie's doing. Like I could do this. Yeah.
Yeah, while I was still working there, I just started to have ideas of doing it, and my band was starting to get successful.
Mm.
But there wasn't really a eureka moment at that point. I'd started to look into like, all right, well, how do you raise financing, blah, blah, blah. And then honestly, he and I had a big falling out, and I walked out of my job
Oh
one night.
man. Wow.
And it was like, it was the scariest thing I ever did. Um, we've since made up, and
Hmm.
like, you just, sometimes you work somewhere for so long, you just get to a boiling point.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, and it kind of forced me to say, all right, put up or shut up, man. It's
Mm.
like, and my best friend, this he's my business partner. Um, I was tending bar with him there. We'd always talked about opening a place together, and
Mm.
it just, we found a spot,
Yeah.
and I started to try to raise money for it.
Wow. Wow. That's wild, man.
Yeah.
What
Like it was the hard, like in listening to your other episodes, it was like honestly the hardest question for me is like, what was the eureka moment?
mm.
Because I don't know that there was for me. I just always knew I wanted to do something big.
Hmm.
I knew like the eureka moment for me is like every day. You know, I don't I
But I
just
consider
like
that a
want to
eureka
look at.
moment. That's, I mean, it could be, it's that's like or maybe it's sometimes it's not a eureka moment, but it's just like that forcing function. It's like you said,
Right.
well, now's the time. I ain't got nothing else holding me down. I ain't got to, this or that. Put up or shut up, like you said. Like, let me try and do this. Why not?
Yeah.
Like that. I think seems to happen a lot for people when they're at that like sort of point in their life, and also like you gotta. I wish I had started some things earlier. I think it's just you got to get the reps in and like learn the ropes doing stuff and just
Yeah.
messing stuff up. Like it's just like you got to mess stuff up,
Man.
and
Yep.
but like what like as you started to as you open your first restaurant, and then wanted to open another one, are there things that you feel you've done consistently daily that have helped you be successful, like running those types of businesses?
Um, Especially in my business, I think availability. Like
Hmm.
I
Okay.
I always answer my phone. Now that like we're 17 years in and I have a decent staff, like
Yeah.
I turn my phone off or put it on silent when I go to bed. you
Hmm.
know, and trust that if the place is burning down, I'll hear about it in the morning from my manager. But like, I mean, like if you're an employee or a customer or anything at all close to me, you'll get to know really quick that I answer on the second ring. Like
Hmm.
available, it's like kind of like the crossover sports reference. Availability is the best ability.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
and because I knew that I did not know everything. And not only did I not know everything, there was a whole lot of stuff I did not know. Like I had no idea. So,
You didn't even know
all
what you
right,
didn't know.
absolutely, absolutely. So, like, all right, I'm going to pick up the phone, find out what's going on, and if I don't know it, I'm going to hang up the phone and figure out how to know it. You know?
Mm,
Yeah.
wow.
I think that's the thing. Like not knowing anything about business, like not knowing the thing. Like the best thing for me was availability and um, I don't want to say confidence because have not always been confident.
Mm, mm.
But like that like reckless abandon for just like, okay, what is it?
Yeah,
Like,
good.
oh,
Yeah, man.
bad or
Sometimes you don't
good,
know.
let's go.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of times you don't know what the is on the other end of that call. So
Oh,
who
oh my God.
who is
Try talking to Comcast in
yeah.
Philadelphia and like, oh my God. Some of my worst, lowest moments in the restaurant business is trying to get cable fixed.
Oh my God. Who's who's an entrepreneur you admire or like a book you love, and why, this is something that, again, a moment where hopefully other entrepreneurs or people who want to start a business can learn from you, anything you'd like to share with our listeners.
Man, I'm going to get killed for this because I thought about this and I forgot to. I read this book. Uh, One of my like silent partners gave it to me, uh, and I'm trying to remember the name of it. That's why I'm going to look bad here. Um, Book. Sorry, I'm googling. Uh, I'm not. It's just this book about basically Brian Grazer and Ron Howard
Hmm.
as business partners,
Okay.
um, and
Ron
how
Howard, like the
partnerships
movie, the
work.
movie director, Ron Howard.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
and his executive producer Brian Grazer. And if you go through their work, you look at so much they've done together.
Hmm.
Um, and and the book, I'm so sorry that
Oh, it's
I
all
read
good.
it probably like 14 years ago and it stuck with me, but like it's built out into like 12 different chapters and each chapter is about a famous partnership, you know,
Okay.
and like what this person brings to the table and what this person doesn't, and like and but this person brings something else and this person doesn't, and how can that work, how did it create friction, how did it get smoothed out or not get smoothed out.
Mm.
That's the worst answer ever because I can't remember the name of the book, but hopefully before the end of the show I'll be like, oh, or else it's going to be like 1 o'clock in the morning and I'm going to text you.
All good. All good, brother.
um
Can you hear any of the background noise on my end? Do you hear that?
no,
Or okay. All right, cool.
is it on your end?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right, good.
No, good. I might edit that part. I just wanted to make sure you didn't hear that. Um, oh, good, man. How did you? So, like, I think we sort of covered like how you ended up owning, like restaurants and bars, but like, what kind of startup capital and reserves, or like, sort of what kind of
Yeah,
money does
yeah,
somebody need, right, to get into that line of business, or like knowing what you know now, and then I think you mentioned like even investors are going out to raise money, like what,
yeah.
or did you get money from the bank? Like, what does that
So,
process look like?
listen, it's so different with every model in a restaurant, in my opinion. I've raised, I've opened places for 500,000, and I've opened up places for 75.
Wow.
You know, um, but it has so much to do with your physical plant in the beginning. Like you can roll into a place that was a restaurant, somebody wanted to open a restaurant, they had no idea what they were doing, and they went out of business in 2 months. And the landlord, all they want is somebody that's going to get in there and pay their rent.
Mm.
So, okay, you get a sweetheart deal. And like, I mean, our second place, Sancho Pistolas, we got the keys for that place and we opened it in like something absurd like 47 days after getting the keys.
Wow.
Like it was like
But it was already a restaurant. Like it was already it already had a kitchen and
it was already at a kitchen
yeah,
and that stuff, but like you have to make it your own.
right.
Um, but Yeah. And I'll tell you what, like every place I've ever opened, uh, I always felt like it needed about 2 or 3 more weeks before we opened.
No, it's funny.
But
Like that's like software. Like I do stuff with software, and like a lot of successful people who've built like or launched software products, like just launch it. Like we say just ship it. Like just ship
yeah,
it. Like
yeah.
just go. Because it's never going to be like ready as you want it to be. You know. Wow, 47 days. Wow. That's
47 days, dude. I was like, are we really are we really doing this? And it was, what's even funnier about it is it was right after we had our, I guess it was our, no, our second. It was right after we had our daughter Delia. And my wife is a superintendent for like the super duper high end construction firm.
yeah.
Um, so that one that we opened in 47 days, I basically wasn't even there for, because like we
Wow.
knew we had a certain amount of money, and I was
Yeah.
like, all right, babe, you have to go and work on this place. I'll watch the kids, and you have to be my eyes and not let my partner screw anything up. Like, because they're gonna want to. They're gonna be like, "Ooh, let's put this there," and you're
Yeah.
and like my wife, she's one of those people that like she'll just look at you and be like, "No," and you're like, "Okay, yeah,
So like we're looking at and maybe like also like operating capital for like 6 months. Like I don't know what that looks like, but really we're talking 100 to 500K easy. Like if you really want to like open a restaurant comfortably and not worry about closing a couple months after you open.
yeah." I mean, again, it so much has to do with what kind of building you have, what your lease is, what your landlord is,
Mm.
if you own the bricks or not. I don't own the bricks on any of my places right now. I would like to get there one day because I think that adds an extra level of security
Oh
to
man,
the restaurant
sure.
business. It totally does, because like if all else fails, at least you can turn around and sell. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, just like every place I've ever opened needed another 2 weeks. Every place I opened needed another 100 grand. Like
Okay.
you can never have enough cushion in the
Mm.
bank, especially in my business, man. It's so paycheck to paycheck, week to week. It's tiring.
Wow.
And I don't know, like I haven't done anything else other than perform, so maybe it's the same way in tech and advertising. I wouldn't think it, like I look at you guys and I'm like, oh my God, why didn't I do stuff like that earlier? Because like, man, it's just, but everybody's got their grind, and
Oh,
that's
business
just
is
what I
business.
learn every day.
Yeah, like for me, I'm the same. Like cash is king, man. Like
Yeah.
I feel like when I talk to business owners, I'm like, get to know your banker, like set up your business,
Yep.
get up and running. Every year, get your tax returns done. Go to your banker and say, hey, what kind of money can I get? Can I get a loan? I mean, it depends on what you want to do, but maybe you want a
Yeah.
loan, but you should set up a line of credit. Like
Yeah.
set up a line of credit with your bank,
Hmm.
and every year go back to your bank, show them how you're doing, and get a bigger line of credit. That way,
Right.
you've got something to fall back on a little bit. It's not credit cards, and it
Right.
helps me sleep at night. I don't really use it, but I have it, and
Right.
when COVID hit, I was like, okay, I got my line of credit. I'm going to get the government loans. But I think, yeah, most businesses, they don't manage their cash. Or I think as a small business owner, it's all one big pile of money. It's all wrapped up with your personal money as well.
Yeah.
So you've got to have just a lot of your own cash, like a lot of cash. Like
Yeah.
I don't. I'm pretty like I like to have just more cash than I need as a person. Some of that I should probably be taking and investing or doing something with, but it helps me sleep at night knowing that I
Absolutely.
just got cash. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
totally agree with you. Yeah.
Um,
Um, it's I you know it, it I remember when we opened up Jose's. we made so many mistakes in the beginning. And to be quite frank and honest about it, I can't believe I just said to be quite frank. Um, but like to be super duper honest about it, like the first year, man, we almost partied that bar away. Like it was
Wow.
just we were all of a sudden rock stars, and it was like we did everything we could to almost run that thing into the ground, and then we got smart.
Yeah.
But at that point, we were kind of like really, really hurting, and
Yeah.
I had to go to banks and say and get that answer of like, oh, I'm sorry, well, you guys are only a year old. We don't lend to restaurants a year old. And then,
Mm.
come talk to us after 2 years. And then you go after 2 years and they're like, I'm sorry, we don't do that to 2 years.
Yeah.
It's got to be like three. And then you go after
Wow.
three and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, we don't do to split corporations. And it's like, so I've never been able to, the
Wow.
brewery, this is the first time I've been able to go to a bank and actually get something done.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you live and you learn, and that's a different place. Like we have assets that you can sell off at the restaurant. Like your furniture and fixtures, they're not worth anything
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
nobody wants that in my
Yeah.
business. They want to make it their own. That's
Yep.
half the fun of having a bar. You make it. It's creative. It's fun.
Mm-hmm. What like knowing what you know now, like what's the number one piece of advice you would give to someone who wants to open a restaurant, like bar,
Don't,
brewery?
don't, don't,
Don't.
don't. No,
Oh my god.
and I only kind of kid. But like there's so many people that like even at the reunion, like people are like, "Oh my god, it must be so cool." It being so cool was what almost put us out of
Yeah.
business. Um, it was cool. It was very fun.
Yeah.
But um, but I also talked to a lot of people that they're like, oh man, it must be so cool to open a bar. I'd like to do like people that have too much money. They're like, I want to open a bar one day. Maybe I should open a bar. And I'm like, did you ever wash dishes? No, no. Did you ever work in the restaurant business? I'm like, no, no. I'm like, don't do it.
Oh
You
wow.
know?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, I kind of have the best of both worlds because I do have like silent partners and things like that. So like I raised my first few places were all off sweat equity, you know? Um, so I kind of got into the business of making money for people.
Yeah.
Um, and now once you start doing that a little bit, and it hasn't always been a success. Like I've certainly had silent investors look at me like, yo, what should we be having quarterly disbursements all the time? Like I could disperse money, but then I can't pay the employees and then I'll never disperse money again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, um, so
Yeah,
what
because
would you rather
investor like
not get anything right now
yeah,
or
because like investors got their own stuff going on. Their people or they got like their own
right?
financial realities. Like maybe
Yeah,
they need to do a call for some cash because they're hard up. Like stuff
right. Yeah,
happens. Even for
yeah,
somebody who
man.
seems like they've got a lot of good stuff going on. Or can
Yeah,
invest money. Sometimes like they need some money.
yeah. That someday somebody's going to come on your show and when you ask the quote question, they're going
Yeah.
to say "mo money, mo problems."
Exactly.
Um,
Like what so what are the economics like of owning, like your own private bar restaurant? So I don't know how you look at it in terms of square footage, number of tables, like with the bar, but like if you could break down for me and our listeners, what kind of average revenue would like, a small size restaurant bar bring in, right? Like every month? What does
right.
that translate into, for profits for the owners,
Again,
percentage wise?
just like startup capital. There's so many factors involved in answering that question,
Yeah.
but like to simplify it as much as I can, it it depends on um, the size of your place, the neighborhood that it's in, the foot traffic. Like one thing I learned is to me personally, to some people, maybe it's not the case, but to me, it doesn't make sense. I don't want to ever open a place that's under like 6, 7,000 square feet again. Like it's
Six
too
to
much
seven
work.
thousand square feet.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like
That's
Like
pretty big.
it's just yeah. My brewery is 8,000 square feet, and
Wow.
that like it's probably like 6,000 for like front of the house, and the rest is brewery and kitchen. Um, but it's like and I'm kind of like eating my own words here because one of my most successful places is my smallest place. But again, it's because it's in this incredible growing neighborhood that
Mm,
like it's almost like too busy. It's
yeah.
like, it's like, just stop. Go home now. Go home. You're drunk.
You ain't. I used to DJ, and at the end of the night, the bouncer at the one place would say, "You ain't got to go home, but you can't stay here."
You can't stay here. Yeah. Um, but again, like I think with the way margins are in the restaurant business, I think, in my personal opinion, it's not worth opening a place if you can't get to like 1.3, $1.5 million annually.
Okay.
You know, um, because the best restaurants in the world get 20% of their net. You know, the ones that are like
Dialed in.
buttoned up.
Once it's really
You know,
dialed
they
in.
have their 18% liquor or like 16% liquor cost, 22% food cost, which is like almost unachievable anymore. You know, like
Mm,
like really great operators I know are happy now with like 33% food cost.
wow.
And it's like, it's tough. So yeah,
Well, or at least like if you've got something in that range as an owner or with partners, or you're bringing 200 to 300K a year in profit out of the restaurant. Is that right? Like at
yeah,
that bare minimum like amount that you mentioned.
right. I mean, I have not done that. Like I haven't been 20%. Like,
Mm.
and I still, I hope to get that way. I think,
And
and
that's
then
a,
think about it.
again, you
Like you
might have to
have a,
split that with partners, or you have to pay back
right, you have business
investors. Yeah.
partners, you have investors. So take this and then
Mm.
chop it up in these ways,
Yeah.
chop it
Yeah.
up in
Yeah.
these ways. And then you're
Wow.
like,
Yeah.
all right, well, at least I'm the sweat guy that is also working every day and I have a salary. So I've been able to make this work.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
it definitely took a toll. And I have like I said, I have the strongest, best woman in the entire world that somehow managed to deal with us figuring out how to be business owners,
Dude, like I like having kids, and like I'm also like, dude,
Oh,
having kids and owning a restaurant bar, like how does that work? Like what?
yeah, they don't even get it. But it's so funny when we were in Italy, my kids like they've grown up around bars now, and they're both awesome kids. But we were in Italy, like we just got so sick of shopping eventually that like me, the other dad from the other family, and my son were like the only three guys on the trip, and then it's just a bunch of women with us. Like we're let's just go into this yarn shop, okay? So at a certain point, I'm like, babe. I heard about this really dope cocktail bar in like Ischia. We're just gonna go over there real quick,
Yeah.
okay? So like me and the dad bring my son, and we walk in, and it's cool, like cool place. It's called Porto 51, and immediately my son just like starts looking around, and next thing I know, he's talking to the bartender, and right after that, he's behind the bar doing selfies with the bartender. I'm like my kids feel like I have to actively tell them when we go into a new place. I'm like, remember,
This is
you
not our
can't
bar.
walk behind the bar here. It's pretty funny.
That's
Yeah,
funny. I went into
it
a lot of
really is.
bars. My dad was a musician, so actually, like
Yeah,
me and Mike, like I was in a bar like on we. I was like his roadie. I was like my dad's roadie. I was in
that's
bars during
awesome.
like 12 in the afternoon on a Saturday. I'd be in a bar, like just seeing drunks. It's just growing up with a musical parent. You get exposed to
Yeah,
that world, but would go see my dad play when I was 6 or 7, at like a bar on a Monday night. Schmitty Kicks, man, used to be packed
Smitty
on like
kicks.
on a Monday night, man, would just be packed. You know, but like what, obviously I mean, there must be something you love, or it's funny, like the more I hear about entrepreneurialism, a lot of times people make money doing stuff they don't really love it, or it's just like, but is there something you love about this business versus, obviously there's probably a lot that drives you crazy about it, but Is there something you love about
Yeah,
this business?
I really do. I've always liked pleasing people. I've always liked serving people.
Hmm.
I love the social aspect of it. I
Yeah.
just absolutely
Yeah.
do. Like I could not sit in a cubicle. I couldn't do it. And
Yeah.
I'm too
Yeah.
soft to be a construction guy. Like I just am. But like, man, I know how to I know how to have fun,
Yeah.
and I know how to talk to people. Another one of your episodes, it's like somebody mentioned the book. I think it was called like "Sell is Human" or
Mm,
something like that.
yeah.
And I love it. I love selling, and
Hmm. Hmm.
I love selling. Like no, this is like we when we opened up Jose's, it was like we're just like this. It's like almost like this kind of like upscale stoner cuisine menu, and like the best Belgian beers in the world next to it. And people are
Yeah.
like, why are you doing that? I'm like, and it's like being able to explain, well, just try this, man. This is
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
this is art in a glass.
Yeah.
Like, this is different. This ain't Bud Light,
Yeah.
and with no crap on tap, buddy.
Yeah.
Like, just like you can, like, for one of the things we did to like de-broify the place was, uh, we serve Miller Lite for $6, and
Yeah.
then we serve like the best IPA in the country for $6.
Wow.
It's like,
Wow. That's
you know,
cool, man.
and
Yeah.
when we first opened, we tried to not even have a light beer. And then we
Yeah.
just saw too many Four Tops walk in, and one person in their party is like, "Well, I wanted a Miller Lite, or I wanted a Mick Ultra,"
Yeah.
and like, and we saw them leave, so we're like, "All right, let's
Yeah.
get it. Just charge for it."
Well,
Yeah.
like, I think it's really interesting what you said to me about like when you used to be behind a bar, like it was your stage. Like it's really interesting. Like, I don't know. That really is interesting to me. I never would have thought of that interpretation of like being a bartender, almost like you're performing, you're selling, and you're interacting with people all day, um, and then like translating that into like with the other performance stuff you did. And I think, yeah, like opening a restaurant, you're there, you've got to interact with customers, you're the face of the place, it's
Yeah,
it's like being like it's your own little political world at a restaurant,
absolutely. And that's my model.
Yeah.
It's not for a lot of very successful people, and of course, like as now, like I have my fourth business. It's probably also one of the I don't want to say dumbest, but it's one of the things I would caution someone trying to do this about.
What do you
My
mean?
first three places were very much built on the the concept of me and my business partner being there to throw the party.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
um, it, that works when you have one place. You know, and there's also a lot of pitfalls that come with that, temptations that come with that. But when you have two and three, all of a sudden you're still only one person, so you
Hmm.
can't throw the party everywhere. And that's like my favorite part of this business has always been the creative aspect. And like
Hmm.
as I grow, um, the biggest challenge I have is trying to like when you start to delegate out and delegate out and delegate out more, how can you then still make that a creative process?
Hmm.
You know, it's
Yeah.
hard
Yeah,
because
man.
it's you know, and it's like teaching people to be creative and fun. And like
Yeah.
I'm a great teacher if I'm next to you doing it,
Yeah.
because I just like just do it like this. Come on. But like if you ask me to explain how to do it, I don't think I'm very good
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah. Dude.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've just learned so much from having you on the show. When I get back down to Jersey, I got to make some time to come out to your new spot, brother. That would just
Please,
mean so much
please
to me to bring my family
spin
there.
some records,
What
man.
you
Spin
built,
some
dude. That'd be
records.
awesome. Yeah, and keep sharing the playlist too, man. You're my funk brother.
That playlist, that's not what I'm listening to right now. I opened my Spotify and I might have been like out of my head, but it said like a daily mix made for Chris White. I'm like, oh, well, that's a pretty cool mix. So I just like sent it to you. And I was like, then I started listening to it on this drive. I'm like, oh, well, that one's boring. But like, yeah, I'll send you some stuff. I'm listening to like some cool like French hip hop and stuff
Dude,
now.
I
It's like
love
really
it. I
cool.
love it. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
No,
Dude,
man,
this has
like,
been awesome.
yeah,
And
this has been
I'm
great.
really, I love the show, and I look forward to sharing it and listening to more episodes. And thank you so much for putting up with my tech
Oh, good, brother. Oh, good,
issues.
man. And yeah, I'll get it. I'm trying to get better at the distribution, getting the word out on all the socials. I'm trying to get to that 10 episode mark and just keep the momentum going, and, try and do one of these every week, ideally.
Well, what am I? I'm
But
Ocho, right?
yeah,
I'm
man.
8.
7, actually. You're 7, actually. 7.
Oh,
Yeah, we're getting there. No, we're super
no.
close. But yeah, I can't thank you enough for the support in the show, man. And I'll share a link with you, and I'll spread the word, and keep rocking, brother. And
Yeah,
hopefully I'll
it's
come out
great.
to you.
Thank you so much for having me, Chris. You've always been someone to look up to, like through the years.
I appreciate
So
it, man.
it was great, and thank you so much, dude.
My pleasure.
All right, peace. Go